Alrighty. So folks, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time hopping on, we'll be recording the entire day. So if you miss a little bit of a project, we'll be sharing it early next week to review. And now for our second project, I'm excited to announce Cass Insberg and Tom Jacobs of Insberg Jacobs Design. Tom came to Santa Barbara over 40 years ago and worked for several firms before finding his place at the part of the original Seaside Union Architects, headed by Andy Newman and Scott Rowland. Cass, before coming to Santa Barbara over 30 years ago, worked in Denver as an artist and designer and was on the team of the Vail Athletic Club and Hotel. Upon arrival in SB, Cass joined Design Arc and worked for the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in LA and projects at UCSB as well. Cass and Tom formed Insberg Jacobs Design in 1996 to practice architecture in Santa Barbara. Their inspiration for architecture coming from life experiences, from being exposed to work and awestruck by the creativity, the beauty, and the power of architecture, not only to serve as a function or as a shelter, but to inspire through the art and craft required for the creation of architecture and the careful placement and relationship to the environment. The inspiration for this project came from the clients, from the neighborhood, and the garden site itself. The desire to demonstrate the possibility of how through design, a small but functional and beautiful living space can be created that can also serve, conserve, and preserve our community. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand it over to Cass and Tom.
I'm Cassandra Ensberg, and this is Tom Jacobs.
Hello.
And we are with Ensberg Jacobs Design, and we are the architects for Casa Pequeña, which we're delighted to have on this year's tour, ArchitecTours 2021. And thank you for coming today to see this project. This is an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, and it is in this older neighborhood of Santa Barbara, as you saw as we rode our bikes up to the property. It's an older neighborhood with these beautiful mature street trees, as is so common in Santa Barbara, or all of our very dense neighborhoods that surround downtown. This project is on a site. The lot is 60 by 140, and this is the existing main house you see from the as we are standing at the entrance to the property. It was originally built in 1940. It was a board and bat style house at that time, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. You can see as it's so typical, we have a big hedge on this side and also on that side that protect and screen these types of properties from the neighbors that are packed densely together in these types of neighborhoods. Over time, the owners of this property, here we'll start walking down, but I want you to see the beautiful landscaping. This is really a project that's very much about the garden and the urban setting in this beautiful garden. As I said, this was originally a board and bat house. Over time, the owners have just lovingly taken care of it and transitioned it from a board and bat house to a more Spanish style house. You see the white stucco, all the traditional details that are associated with that. The copper gutters, the Santa Barbara blue windows and doors, and the beautiful stucco walls. You can see the driveway that goes down to where this is the ADU you see in the background, and this was the location of the former single wall garage that was really not of much use. We are so grateful to the owners of this property, our clients, who took on this project, which really not only benefited them by giving a more usable, functional structures on the property, but also is of great benefit to the community by providing an actual living unit, a small living unit that we're so much in need of for our workforce housing. As we move down, please notice this big gate, this beautiful arched gate with the tongue and groove and the Santa Barbara blue color again. This closes off the area for what here is the parking associated with this project. You can see as we move down closer, the wheel stop where the two cars are allocated. Continuing down, the property opens up, and we see the new structure here, and also the beautiful gardens beyond. As the property opens up to the rear. The original garage was on the property line, which is something we're also familiar with. That was very typical. The new structure now is 5 feet over. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what's really fantastic, one of the things that's fantastic about this property is how the owners built this wing to add to the house and to create a master bedroom suite. This also created this L-shaped courtyard that's protected facing south. All of these walls and these Santa Barbara sandstone walls were existing that we needed to work around and to tuck this new unit while also pulling it away from the property line, the 5 feet as is required. So let's come over here and take a look at this. We tried to use every square foot to the greatest benefit, and this area with the 5 feet now became a wonderful space for storage of the trash, cans, the barbecue when it's not in use, and also garden tools and that sort of thing. The trash used to live over here, which was right in view of the beautiful patios, so getting those out of the way and tucked back here was really important. Also, I want to point out some of these surfaces. The driveway is an exposed aggregate, which is just a beautiful solution that ties in with the pea gravel of the garden that's typical and that you can see here. This trench drain is part of the stormwater management system that captures any water that is sheeting down from the driveway. The red craft tile is a more finished material that introduces the entry into the ADU itself. And over here, these large pavers and gravel were used to create a workable surface that the trash cans and the barbecue could roll across, while also being permeable to allow the water to seep down and into the groundwater. Okay, so this area here, just mentioned just briefly, is the sort of forecourt to the little unit. And the owner, we have two owners, both of them are artists. One of them is a painter, and you're going to see a bunch of his beautiful paintings. And the other one is a gardener who has way more than a green thumb. And there's many wonderful pieces of whimsical art that she has incorporated into the garden. And I think you can see how lovely the arrangements to kind of separate this area from that area, and using this very small space, this urban setting to the best effect. One of the really special things about this particular ADU is the fact that once you lose the garage, guess what? You don't have any storage anymore. So it was really important to the owner that we figure out a way to have storage that they could use for bicycles, camping gear, art supplies, all those kinds of things that you would normally put into a garage. So this left side I'm going to just show you how this is with the door. This is the door into there. You can see the beautiful hand wrought hardware, and then coming in this storage space. So there are small skylights in here, and then LED strip lights. The area above here, this space right here is the recess where the kitchen occurs, which you'll see on the other side when we go to the other side of the room. But up above, and if you want to bring the camera and look up there, is storage space that we captured. It was above the tops of the kitchen cabinets. And then, of course, at the end also, there's a slot there that the owner could take advantage of for other types of things. And then this industrial shelving that holds all the other types of storage. This is kind of a special part of this space as well. With all of the tools. This is a little workbench that the owner uses to prepare canvases for his painting. So this is a very much part of the studio when he's using the space as a studio. Also, he has a special table that he can pull out here to use this space as part of his working area. If he has sawing or messy kinds of activities, he can do it out here and clean it up easily, and then tuck it back here when he's finished. So, coming around here, here's the front door to the main living space, and with our little bell. And also the light fixtures are pointing down for night sky compliance. And we come into now the main living space. There's the screen door, and the main door, which is a French door, which also we have the same condition at the other end, which enables the cross ventilation that is so important. And now we're into the main space. This is set up as it could be set up for a living quarters for one or person or possibly a couple. This is a queen bed that can fold up into a beautiful wooden cabinet and just be out of the way for other activities when the owner is using this as his art studio. That's how he has it set up. This is set up for a nice little dining area over here, and then the kitchen here. The kitchen has a wonderful, very efficient but full height refrigerator that really, I think, could probably be a good example for all of us. Could probably store just about anything we need. A freezer below, and then a large kitchen sink, a double burner electric cooktop, and then also a microwave exhaust vent combination unit. We have a slab top here, and then sherry cabinets, which actually are the same as the cabinets that they have in the main house that they just really love. Plenty of storage for anything you would need for food, dishes, etc. Right here. Also, to point out this little niche right here that pops into the garden and enables the bed to slide back into, and the windows on all sides, all operable to expand the space to the garden and also bring the natural light and ventilation in addition to the skylight up here. There's a closet here closet for bedding or clothing, however it's being used at the time. And there's Yoda. So there's that. And certainly there's space for a dresser, or, you know, for the types of things one would have if this was being used as a actual living unit. Little area for lounging over here, and also mini split cooling and heating unit, very efficient. The owners have found that with the insulation in this new structure and the dual glazed windows, of course, that they have had not really needed to use this at all. But certainly in extreme weather, if we get very hot or very cold days, then they might use it for a few minutes. Here, let me take you into the little bathroom, which is very efficient. Small, but feels really spacious, with the glass corner shower, with the wall-mounted sink. And then also what really makes it work is the big mirror, and also here, could come around, we have this built-in shelving and countertop for linens and towels and other bathroom supplies. Also, we have a small double hung window on this side that it has ribbed art glass that allows for privacy, but also ventilation into the little room. Oh, I also forgot to mention, we used a pocket door. We needed to make this as functional as possible, so we, instead of having a door swinging in and conflicting with this door, we put in the pocket door. The finishes and materials are all very neutral and warm. The ceiling is white, the walls are an off-white, sort of an alabaster. Again, the cabinet's just a beautiful cherry wood. And then this is a marmoleum floor that is sort of a gray concrete color. The owners really love the look of the concrete slab, but they thought it would be more appropriate to have this material is more cleanable and comfortable for use as an actual living unit. The lighting is all recessed LED in this room. In the storage room, it is LED recessed strips. Again, the lighting, it's so bright and airy in here, we don't really need it except for maybe in the evenings. I also just want to, while we're here, pointing out the beautiful paintings of our artist client. They're just amazingly beautiful. So yeah, here and here. So these are usually, these are things that he's working on, and again, normally he's using this as an art studio presently, but this is set up to show you how this can work. And this is around 300 square feet. Now moving out to the back here into the back side of the structure. Here we have the utility area. This is a sump pump that was installed and necessary to bring the system over to the other side of the property and to tie into the back wing of the main house. This is part of the mini split system, and of course the electrical panel. And then if we can come over here and come back through to the front again, where the garden tools and trash and are kept. This is also the door to the water heater closet. So all of this is all tucked back here nicely and very conveniently for functionality. And now this area, this garden area, is called the pit. And this was an area that the owners had excavated and created this really incredible space that's so protected and surrounded with retaining walls of river rock, with this wonderful wall fountain that is such a classical Santa Barbara style garden in an urban setting. So let's just walk around here and appreciate this and the many wonderful art elements and pieces of whimsy, these beautiful stone lanterns and other elements of the garden. And then we can see how this works with the accessory structure as we move around. As you can see from here, how beautifully we matched all of the materials from the main house are matched on the accessory dwelling unit. The Santa Barbara blue windows and doors, the stucco with the cat's paw finish, the white stucco, the copper gutters, the asphalt roof, all are matching the main house. So it all ties together. And you can see from this vantage point how in this urban type of setting where we have how you can add this density in such a sensitive way that makes it work for everybody. Here we see the garden in the foreground, the accessory dwelling unit, the beautiful trellis patio with the classical columns, and then the main house beyond. And it all just layers in beautifully with the incredible landscape. When we come around on this side, I'll point out some of the stormwater management elements. Also want to emphasize how we call this Casa Pequeña. It was designed to be small from the outside, and you can see how low that the roof comes at this point here, tucking just right up above the windows, just within a half an inch, to keep the scale small and low. So we designed it small from the outside, but large on the inside, so that it felt very spacious and light and airy and comfortable on the inside while being pequeña on the outside. You can see here how the roof, the water coming off the roof, is channeled into the downspouts and then into the garden, and drains that feed the garden and also the groundwater. Same thing here with the copper rain chain, and here on this side with the gutters on this end. Here's another example of some of the whimsical artwork that's included, and that just really makes it so special. Beautiful platter. And here's another example of the stormwater area that comes off. We had, as you can see, the grade is kind of coming up and then going down, so there was a fair amount to deal with that. I want to, our general contractor was Jim Shoup of Shoup Construction, and he was the guy who did all the gymnastics of construction to make this all happen, and he was just an absolute pleasure to work with. And I know this looks all very simple, but it's complicated, and he was an amazing communicator and made the whole thing come together so beautifully. So we're so grateful for him. He will be available for questions later, and he's also a sponsor of the ArchitecTours this year. Also, this is a good place to see the texture of the cat's paw on the walls there as the light is grazing across the wall. And that's typical of the main house as well. And as we come around here, this is the, I want to just point out a couple of fun art pieces that I especially love. One of them is this little arrangement of Mr. Mouse with his little sofa. This was an art piece that they got up in the Seattle area that the owners got, and I just think it's adorable. And also this wonderful piece here that is a ceramic piece of faces that was made and given as a gift to the owner by students, the 6th grade students of Montecito Union School. Here again you can see the different patios and all the wonderful spaces to relax and enjoy, which shows how a lot of this size can be developed to still connect with nature while being close to town and close to all of the amenities that the town offers. So let's just look at one more thing, and then we'll be, I think we're close to being done. I wanted to point out this block, the block wall here, the blocks in this wall, which are a detail that matches the main house over here. And this is a really nice way of bringing light into the space. Again, we're matching the main house, but it's bringing light into the space here, but also protecting the privacy of both parties. Because this, where we are right now, this access is the main access into the garden. So if this were a unit that was, rented by a couple, say, it's nice that this brings the light in while keeping the privacy on both sides for movement around. With that, I would like to, let's come over here. I want to thank you all for taking the time today to come and to see this project. I would urge anyone who might have the opportunity to be able to build an ADU to consider it, because it's certainly a great way. I think since the beginning of the ADU program, the city has realized, I think about a little over 300 of these units. That certainly is a great way to add to the types of housing that we need. And if you have a unit that is illegal, I urge you to work with the city and your designer to make it legal, so that we can have them safe and legal, and that they can be counted as part of our responsibility to provide housing to our workforce. So with that, thank you so much for coming. Have a beautiful day. I know you have some other projects to look at, and I hope you enjoy it all, and I look forward to seeing you next year, hopefully in person, and we will be available now for questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Cass. What an incredible project. And for everyone, I forgot to mention in the beginning that we're really lucky to be joined today by Jim Shoup, who is the general contractor that made all this come into reality. So we're really excited to have Jim joining us right now with Cass and Tom to answer any questions and give a little bit more of a narrative of challenges and things about the project. So I'll hand it off to the team. Hey, Cass. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I'd love to know just a little bit behind like the permitting process. Was this, I know a lot of people are really interested in ADUs right now, and I think it's so great that you highlighted just how important they are in our community to help with the density. And I just wonder, what was your process and experience like to get it through the permitting process?
Tom, Tom, do you want to talk about that? And then I think it'd be great to hear from Jim too about some of the challenges that, you know, the schedule and how that all worked out. But Tom, do you want to talk about the permitting part first?
Sure. From the inception of the design, meeting the client from the first time, to the completion of the permit itself, was taken about a year. And for an ADU, I think that's a successful time period. Quite a number of ADUs have gotten hung up into various difficulties, but we felt that this one was rather smooth. There were some issues with the soils report we had to resolve, but by and large, it went quite smoothly.
We also had, you know, the most amazing clients ever who just were phenomenal in terms of our team with Jim. It just, you know, worked out any of the little complications, and Jim can talk about that better than I can. So maybe Jim, would you like to kind of explain the challenges you had?
Sure. Hello, everybody. First, thanks to Cass and Tom. You did a fabulous job. And you mentioned our client, and you know, the team that we had was just fabulous. So this project was really fun. Yes, early on, Tom had mentioned that, you know, if you're interested in a project like this, that most of these projects, in fact, all of them require soils report or an engineer to either sign off on the soil prior to your build. This particular site, the soil is not good. So we did have to over excavate for this project, which initially I was hoping we could avoid. I've done these in the past, having certain engineers sign off on soil and then not have to do that process. But that was a challenge initially. Other than that, I mean, the permitting, all of our inspections, the collaboration that we had, everything was very smooth. So yeah, it was you know, for such a small little project, small footprint, there are some challenges. It was a little bit complicated at times, but pretty easy. I mean, this was really straightforward. The pandemic, you know, I've been lucky enough to do a few of these, and a similar size ADU typically will take us 5 to 6 months to finish. This project getting started in let's see, yeah, we were right in the middle of the pandemic, so it added quite a bit of time. You know, this project took 10 months to finish. We had delays with doors and windows and cabinetry, and let alone, you know, the challenges that we run into currently with our tradesmen and, you know, my crew in the pandemic. So that was definitely, that played a big part in delays and unfortunately costs, you know, during this time. They've gone up considerably. You know, from 2018 till now, square foot prices for these units have increased $150 a foot. So it just gives you kind of a general idea of the pricing on these units, what's happened in the last, you know, 3 to 4 years. You know, is definitely, I don't think, hopefully, you know, we don't have to sustain that. I don't know what the future holds, but hopefully things kind of level out as the pandemic kind of levels out.
And Jim, it was also, I believe, one of the things that happened was that the kitchen cabinets came in, you know, when they were approximately on time, but they were all damaged. They had been destroyed in the shipping, and they had to reorder the entire order, which means, you know, the whole thing had to go. So that delayed it. What was it? I think 3 months or something like that. Was it, Jim?
Yeah, it's several months just for that. Unfortunately, well, it kind of overlapped into a few other delays. So you know, it worked out okay. But, you know, just for everybody's information, you know, in the past, I've had success ordering cabinets online, whether they're like an RTA, a ready to be assembled cabinet, or a fully assembled cabinet. I don't know if I would recommend that moving forward currently where we are. Fortunately, you know, now I'm able to use kind of our local vendors, and that's the best route to go. I mean, even as far as price, you know, the online pricing has increased. And, you know, we have some fabulous local cabinet makers and so if I could do that over again, I would do that. And that's currently what I'm doing. I don't suggest that to clients anymore. Only reason I would ever do that is for cost. You know, we try to save as much money as possible. In this particular project, I mean, you know, there were specific things that they wanted. I mean, obviously you can see the unit now, it matches the house, the copper gutters. They splurged in beautiful doors and windows. Those are Anderson E-Series, all clad doors and windows. But at the same time, you know, we wanted to be mindful about not spending too much money. And so I suggested doing that. And that was, you know, that turned out to be a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, there were challenges, and I mean that come with the pandemic, and I think it just is kind of this snowball effect. You know, I mean, it you know, starts with, you know, just the ability to get materials, then, you know, travels down into, as I said, you know, our vendors, our subcontractors, my particular crew. So yeah.
I see that there's a question about how we worked around the stone walls, and that was that was a very big challenge. The entire structure is 483 square feet, and of that, the storage area that you saw is about 123, and then the living space with the bathroom is about 360. So you know, the unit, it was a push and pull, as always, between, you know, how the garden, the composition, how it would, you know, so that there was balance between the size of the little house and how it would tuck into the garden. But you can see in the picture behind Jim that we and also behind Tom, those elements were there, and we wanted to you know, protect them and somehow tuck this structure in at a size that would work well, but that would also not impact those really important elements that they had built before, the pit that we saw, and then also these beautiful stone walls. So it was just sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I can remember laying out the site plan and having those you know, given points and figuring out just how many inches I had, you know, what was going to be a comfortable dimension to allow a little breathing area, but still not sacrifice either the pathways or the adjacency of the walls. So that was certainly a finessed portion of the design, respecting the garden, and then yet, you know, allowing for the space of the ADU. So that almost determined, in a way, how big of the unit it was going to be.
And also, don't forget, we had to pull it 5 feet away from the property line. So before, the previous building was 5 feet over, and so there was, you know, more space between those elements. So how could we do this and have it still feel comfortable and gracious and not pinched? So that was a big part of the design. I see when Cash, how much time do we have? I want to respect our next people coming in.
Yeah, no, we have another 10 minutes or so. So
Okay.
yeah, there's a question about the response from the neighbors. You know, this is close to the property line. Did they raise any concerns or issues during the permit review process?
Tom, I remember they have very, very great relationships with all of their neighbors. And
Smart.
yeah, no, it's a wonderful community there. And again, this is you know, one of the things we really want to emphasize how important it is that we find ways to insert, you know, and become more dense in the city because of all the benefits. I mean, you saw we could ride our bikes there. We rode our bikes there. There's one of the best bakeries in town is right down the street. Bakery, if you've ever been there, amazing. You can just walk down the street to these places, all these wonderful local, you know, businesses that are readily available by your bicycle or by walking. You can even walk to town very easily. I had meant to mention that because when you're up at the street, you can see in the distance, you know, the canopy of the city, the tree canopy, and also the, you know, the taller buildings of downtown, of the central business district. So it's not far at all, you know, to walk. And that's the great benefit of keeping this kind of development in the city, and you know, protect our you know, our natural areas and high fire prone areas from overdevelopment.
To give you another focus on what a small town we've got, two of the most important vendors, the insulation and the roofing subcontractor, live in the next block over. And so it's as if everybody was just, you know, kind of walking out their front door and going to work. So that was, you know, it really shows you how knit into the community this structure is.
And also, Tom, there was also the thing about, you'll remember better than I, but there was a wall between the neighbor where the setback is, the 5 feet. And so they wanted to, and maybe Jim, you might remember this better too, but there was some wall there. They wanted to, you know, redo it and make it nicer. And so they worked it out with the neighbor to make that happen. Jim, do you?
Yeah, I was going to chime in to say that, you know, it was the neighbor to the east that was most affected, and we improved his property when we did this project. So it was kind of a joint effort, and he was very patient. I know at times it was definitely disruptive, but it was, as you said, just great people, and it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, our clients they're just the nicest people, and so the whole neighborhood really embraces them and loves them, and I think they encouraged this project. So it was easy, and we improved that little wall you were referring to. We kind of fixed the grade and put in a nice new fence, so it really made his property much better as well.
And obviously, or maybe not so obvious, but you know, we were careful to put the all of the utility type stuff, you know, no windows looking over into that neighbor's property. All of our windows are facing internally to the garden, you know, not being very mindful to keep a solid wall there on the one side so that it wouldn't impact in any negative way to the neighbor that is to the east. So
Yeah,
all
the neighbor and that the driveway is that the connection to the main house electrical panel was on the other side. It was on the west side, and we therefore chose to bring the septic system, or the waste piping up into that same trench and tie it into the same area of the house, which, since we took the trenching through the garden, we didn't disrupt any of the paving for the driveway, which is really nice. So we didn't have any big scar of different materials and whatnot. And therefore we needed the sump pump. So it was a combination of taking the path of least resistance, but which did, you know, cause us to have to specify some equipment there to make that, you know, to join the two structures.
Yes. There's also a question here. Are there plans to eventually use ADU for workforce housing? And do we know if there's a provision in the city's ADU codes that would allow you to keep the original non-conforming setback of the garage that's convenient to an ADU? that first question, these types of housing, I think, are really a beautiful way to, increase our housing stock, which is one part of the, the problem is so complex that I always think of it like buying a new car versus a used car. You go on the lot, you buy a new car, it's going to cost you a lot. If you buy a used one, then, 1 year old, then it's going to be a lot less expensive. And if it's 5 years old, it'll be a lot less expensive. Our problem is that we haven't built anything for such a long time that we have, everything is brand new. So until we can get over that hump and get more inventory and get some older kinds of properties that can be less expensive, we just are, up against the wall, really. We have different options working with the housing authority for lower income, the different ways that we can address this. But certainly these units that are, the developer is the single family resident homeowner. And they create these small little this is little over 300 square feet. So that's, that's small. So they create the possibility for housing for perhaps a younger or an older family member, that also then opens up, that would probably be given at a less cost, for rental, that opens up other spaces that person might be occupying in the city. So I just think it's a really, good tool that also preserves, as we said before, the character of the neighborhood. You can see how this is tucked in and it doesn't adversely affect the neighborhood. It's a small development.
Yeah, it really is intimate. And then, so what would the question be for, I remember in the beginning you mentioned this was within the setbacks of the city. So how did that get addressed through the permitting?
We maintained the setback that is a 5-foot setback. We did that consciously to avoid any interaction with the city over trying to get allowance to make the site, to put the house closer to the setback. In certain conditions, I believe, if you're replacing the house in the exact same footprint or having it be under 12 foot tall, you can get some allowance for relief on the setbacks. But in general, that was one of the reasons we did that, was to smooth, smooth the process and streamline it, and it achieved exactly that. So we didn't have any haggling going on between the city and our professionals.
Gotcha. And that's because you kept it at the original footprint?
Correct.
No, because we respected the 5-foot setback.
Yeah.
You're gonna, I think what happens is sometimes people have the understanding that, you can take an existing structure, especially garages, and just easily convert them to habitable space. And that's the issue. So a big issue is that the issue of structure. Most of those old structures, even the newer structures that are engineered to be garages, are not engineered to be lived in. So I'll just piggyback on Tom to say, I've had the experience where, yes, you can do that, but there's going to be extensive retrofitting done to the existing structure to legalize it to living space.
We try to go the course of least resistance, go with the flow, and avoid having to do a filing for some kind of variance, and so we try to make it work in the most straightforward way. So that's what this represents, I think.
And somebody had a question about linking in or tying it into the lot and the existing walls and pathways, and so those were the kind of you had givens that we worked towards making the house a certain size that really just kind of laid itself out for us, and we find that coming back to looking and experiencing the house, walking around, so you know those areas, you felt them on paper, and they were really realized in the completion of the design. So that's very satisfying to know that you can plan something and it turned out.
I really did. I have a question myself here. Jim, you mentioned something that got me thinking. You referenced just the drastic increase in material pricing, and there's an article on NPR a few weeks ago about the using of more reclaimed materials and like reclaimed woods, just because virgin wood has gone up in price so much. So just as like, a little off topic, but just, has there been more talk recently about using reclaimed materials more so just because of how the economics play in?
It's a great question. I'm so interested in all of this. There's like so many things that I want to get up to speed on that I'm interested in. And there has not been talk within my immediate industry, or have I had a conversation with architects or designers. It excites me. I hate the waste, and where my crew I drive them crazy because I want to pack rats. Like, I don't want to throw anything away.
Yes.
But there isn't, and moving forward, I know that we have to move in that direction. It's just, this is not sustainable. So we need to be thinking about that, and I'm very interested in it. It's just another one of those things in my box that I need to check. And my mind's going in so many different directions currently, and with my industry and where we're headed and what's going on. And that's a big part of it. It's just the beginning, it's like part of, many different things that I've got going on in my mind about how to make this process less expensive and easier moving forward.
Yeah, I love it.
How to recycle, how to recycle materials. I mean, unfortunately, the Restore, Habitat for Humanity Restore store is no longer, unfortunately. I mean, I thought that was the best place ever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a.
One of the other things that is unusual about this project is it's fitting into the COVID surge in lumber prices, and I think the lumber went up 300% in the time span of the project, and stayed at that level. And now we find that it's come back down to more or less about 150%. So it's come back into not fully exactly what it was prior to the project inception, but has come way back down. So it's not often that you get such a surge in the cost of construction, but this was unusual in that way.
Yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind. And I'll make a plug here. There is a resources page on the AIA Santa Barbara's sustainability webpage. So Ed DeVicente of the Sustainability Committee is managing that. And I think that's just a good reminder that we should have a section in the resources for directing people to more reclaimed materials and help this happen more often. So really, really good to hear the feedback here from everyone.
Somebody asked in the chat how much of the garage remains. And as we said, it's a single wall construction, and single wall construction is not allowed in today's code. And the foundation system was not up to code. So this is a case where you definitely would not have been able to use any of the existing structure. We attempted to get the redwood siding, which was beautiful stuff, saved for aftermarket sales. But it wasn't, the owners decided that it wasn't anything that they wanted to tackle. But so there was actually, nothing of the garage that remained. And that would have been a challenge to work with the city to be able to include that. But again, we didn't try to do that in order to make the project more efficient.
Well, we're just about finishing up here. Any other thoughts or questions from any of the panelists or guests before we take a quick break?
Well, I'll just
All
say
right. Well, Tom,
thank you
Cass.
again.
Oh,
Thank you so much. And Cash, great job. And AIA, I want to also give a shout out to AIA. They have done so much work to try to streamline this process. Back when the ADU program was first, moving into adoption, there was a lot of heavy lifting by the AIA doing community outreach and trying to streamline this process, and was successful in doing a lot of good work. Clearly more needs to be done, but I just want to appreciate all of my colleagues and all of our friends and everyone who has contributed to this. So I hope everyone's enjoyed it, and thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
thanks, Cass. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jim. And Cass, you couldn't have said it better. And thank you for all of our attendees today who are supporting the AIA. This is a really important fundraising event for us too. So all of your support today is helping further what Cass talked about, furthering the advocacy and the sustainability and all the good initiatives that the AIA is doing in our community. So again, thank you, everyone. And we will be taking a 5-minute break and be starting at 11:15 for La Rana Canta. So thanks, everyone. Take a quick break and we'll see you shortly.